Let's do it. So we finally made it, Jillian, after I had to put on my sales hat to get you here today. And had to follow up with you a few times to make it happen. And glad we did and glad we connected. Because you're out in Scottsdale, and we talked about like a marketing
Yeah.
event that you went to, and we had some common common
With
threads
some
there.
mutual
So I was
friends.
like, hey,
Yeah.
let me reach out and just see if you respond.
Absolutely. And I actually love that you said that because if you wanted me on the podcast or you wanted somebody on the podcast or whatever it is, like this is just such a prime example of like you literally did exactly what I teach. It was like you reached out, you created an offer, which was come on the podcast. It took me a few minutes to respond. You followed up. So you actually followed like a really good sales process and then you got what you wanted because I'm on your show today.
Yeah, I never knew anything about sales. Like when I entered the financial industry, I thought financial advisors knew about investing, but then I learned they're all just salespeople. And
Yeah.
I had to learn how to, you know, I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm like a salesy kind of person. Like some people always want like that hot line, like, hey, Julian, what's that like one line that can help me close more deals?
Yeah.
Versus I've learned, and I believe you're teaching this as well, and I want you to talk about it, is more of like creating a system to
Yeah.
follow.
Yeah. More
So
like
that
a
way you
sales
can
process.
freestyle on the go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the people who really like haven't been professionally trained in sales, which is like literally less than 1% of the world, like they're just winging it, right? They're just throwing spaghetti against the wall. They're seeing what works. They're asking questions and like they're not really following like a methodology. But sales is really all about a framework and a process. And if you follow it, like you're going to close more sales, regardless of whatever it is that you're selling.
Yeah, people, it's almost a fear, like
Yeah.
having to sell something. It's like a public speaking fear, a
Yep.
sales fear. Like there's so many people out there like I could never do sales. Like I could never
For
do
sure.
that job just because the rejection and
Yeah.
having to have some difficult conversations sometimes.
Yeah.
Because no matter how good you are at sales, I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what anyone says on social media. No one closes every deal ever.
No. I mean, you guys, I'm like a sales ninja. I mean, I've been doing sales for 26 years and our close rate's around like 60%. Like it's not crazy high. And
Hmm.
that's even high for like someone in sales. So like technically your sales rate, your close rate in sales is anywhere between like 10 and like 20% for like the average Joe. So if you think about that, you want 10 people in your program or you want 10 clients or whatever it is, let's just say 10, and you have a 10% close rate, you have to talk to 100 people. And most people don't realize that those 90 no's are actually going to bring you to the 10 yeses.
Yeah. I've we had one gentleman on our podcast who was like he does like manifestation to help people win the lottery. So I don't if you're into that sort of stuff or not, but he was just like rejection's protection, man. If you're on the
Yeah.
right path and you get rejected, it's for a reason. But if you're getting accepted and you're on the wrong path, then
Hmm.
you're gonna be upset with who's
Yeah.
entering your world. And it's always good to take that like who's around me right now? Do I like these people? And like look back and actually like see like what I'm doing. So
Yeah.
with
Absolutely.
being in sales, it's taken you 20 years though. 20 years of building a skill, a
Mhm.
brand in order to achieve that 60% rate. Because when you first get into sales and the people that you work with, setting an expectation saying like I'm gonna help you close 60% of all sales from day one,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have a lot of repeat customers, I'm sure.
Right. No, it's definitely taken time. And there's definitely people that come into my world that have a lot of success right away. And there's a lot of people that come into my world that it takes a little bit longer, but there's a lot of things that come into play with that. The first thing that comes into play with that is like, what are you selling? Right. So let's use your guy for an example with manifestation of the lottery. If he's talking to 100 people, his close rate might be lower because it's not like something that everyone maybe needs or wants or buys into or whatever it is. So he might have to talk to 300 people in order to get 10 on because it's not like a necessity that people need or they want or they're searching for, right? Where for me, like everyone needs sales, regardless of where you are, whether you're selling hats, you own a coffee shop, you own a brick and mortar, you own a gym, a restaurant, an online coach, a podcast host, whatever it is, like everyone needs sales. So for me, my sales are higher because I'm selling like an absolute need to people. So what you want to think about is how can you take whatever it is that you're selling and turn it into a need that people absolutely need to have?
Hmm. How do you make your service be like oxygen?
Yeah. So I feel I always say, like, you're your first sale. And if you are not 100% bought in on what it is that you're doing, like, your clients aren't going to be bought in either, right? If I came on this podcast today and I'm so passionate about what it is that I sell, and there's such a conviction around it that people want to breathe it in. They want my oxygen, right? They're like, what does she have? And I want to literally be part of that world. So I think that's the biggest thing is you have to be your first sale, right? And you have to also remember that you are selling something that people need. And if you can start to talk to that over and over and over, that's key. Many people are talking to people though that it's actually not even their ideal client, right? It's like maybe you're getting on Instagram stories, maybe you're getting on a podcast, maybe you're hosting a webinar, a masterclass, whatever, and you're not getting high sales conversions. Well, part of the reason why you're not getting high sales conversions is also because you don't even have the right buyers walking through your door.
Mm-hmm. And there's a big difference between being a salesperson at a corporation versus a salesperson
Yeah,
outside of a corporation. So whenever I'm on
100%.
LinkedIn and I see these like salespeople and like saying, they have these pictures or at these award
Yep.
shows. I mean, I was one of those people. Like I was in the top 5% in the country at one of the big companies that I worked at. And then I got into
Mhm.
the real world. I'm like, no one wants to talk to me.
It's very different.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
1000% different. And I was
Yeah.
obviously very successful there. I must have been good at something because you can't be like a top performer for an entire year and never
Yeah.
miss a goal if you're not at least decent. Because if you're
Hmm.
decent and you work hard, you can still hit and obtain all your goals. But getting out into the real world is way different. Did you have like a similar situation, or have you always been out on your
Yeah.
own?
So I was actually in corporate sales for 23 years. So that was my background, corporate sales. And I will say, like, I worked for some of the biggest brands out there. So while yes, I sold over $100 million in sales in 25 years, like it was not always a hard sell. I was walking into corporations or businesses that people really wanted the product, right? It was like, oh, like you want to bring in Gatorade. Like Gatorade was one of my lines. Like, oh, you need Gatorade. It's Super Bowl. Like, let's build a stack, right? Like it was easy. And then you come to the online space and you're like, oh, I'm the brand. Like, there's no one like searching Jillian Murphy right now, right? So what you have to really do, and this is what I tell all my clients, is you have to create your own personal brand that then people want to be part of, right? So now I've built a really good personal brand over the last 4 years. Yes, I sell sales coaching, but I've also sold other things. I've sold hats, I've sold sweatshirts, I've sold t-shirts, like I've sold other things because the brand is Jillian Murphy and that's what people actually buy into.
Yeah. I mean, someone came to me and was like, "Hey Josh, like for your company, you're dangerously close to just like making it all about like you." I was like, "Well, I didn't name it like Craft Chick Money Management. I named it
Right.
369 Financial." And I like challenged this person. I was like, "Well, if you go on Twitter, who has more followers, Elon Musk or Tesla?
Yeah.
But how do you relate the two?" So
Hmm.
you could still have a brand and have a personal brand. People just need to know when they think of this brand and they think of you and vice versa. And I feel like that's where a lot of people get lost in the
Yeah.
social space, is just making it about them, because you can do both, but in the beginning, you are the brand. So you got to let people know
Yeah.
who you are.
You are the brand. Also, like not being afraid to talk about what you do over and over and over. Like I've been in the online space for 4 years and I'm definitely like the go-to person for sales. Like if you think of sales, most people are like, oh, go to Jillian Murphy, right? But it took time to get there. And it also took 4 years of me creating this. It took 4 years of me being consistent every day on social media. It took 4 years of me talking about nothing but sales, right? Like I don't go on podcasts and talk about anything else other than sales, right? So it's like the brand has become so known because I've also put it out there.
Yeah. Step one is pull out your phone and just see what comes out of your mouth.
Yeah.
You don't have to post it, but at least
No.
like, hey, I'm talking to the camera. Like that's the hard part, because a lot of people have a hard time looking at themselves in the mirror or looking at a
Yeah.
camera. It's just like it's one of those, I don't know, one of those spidey sense fears that people
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. And I
Um,
always tell people too, like, they're like, oh, I don't like my voice on camera, or I don't like my face on camera, or, I'm overweight, whatever it is. It's like, do you think your audience really cares? Or do you think your audience just wants the message delivered? Right. Like, I know I'm not for everybody, like 100% my personality, but I know there's people that follow me, even though they don't genuinely like me, because the content in which I'm putting out is helping them. So just keep putting out really valuable stuff, and the right people will become magnets to you.
it's kind of like if you're going in for heart surgery. I mean, how often you're going to see that doctor? Hopefully, never again.
Hopefully, once.
So, who cares if you like them or not? Are
Literally,
they
who cares?
competent and are they the best person that can do the job based on where you live and what you're able to afford?
Yep.
I mean, that's what it really comes down to. And being that we're in the presidential season, people's emotions just get, you know, too much. It's just too
So
much
much.
emotion. It's just like, hey, we can all be friends.
We can all be friends. It doesn't matter.
Like it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, I know it's important issues, but like in order to really like understand someone, especially in sales, you literally like when I'm talking to someone, I literally transform and I was like, if I'm them going through what they're going through, like what is going through my head? And I'll literally be like, hey, Jillian, I bet you feel XYZ. And be
Mhm.
like, yeah, you're right. Like literally like I want to become them, like become
Mhm.
one, like
Yeah.
Hakuna Matata, like with
Little Lion
nature.
King right there.
Yeah, like I mean, it's just like literally like I want to like feel, do my best to feel what they're feeling because sometimes you'll be talking to someone and be like, "Hey, like I know you're in like a bad situation right now. It doesn't even seem like, I mean, how tight is money right now? It seems like it's super tight. Now you're
Yeah.
bringing it up and you're like, I can feel it. Like, and then now you can start to negotiate
Yeah.
how to at least if someone's not ready to buy like a large package or something, at least how do you get them into your sphere so not if but when they get the money, they know who to call because how many times have you called someone in your sales career and they're like, oh, we signed up with someone else already?
Yeah. So for us, it's like really remembering that like our content is driving people into our world, right? And when people say like, hey, maybe I can't afford it or now is not the right time or whatever, I always say that like this is when a good salesperson starts. Like I love an objection. I'm like, bring an objection all day long because now we get to unpack that. We get to unpack why don't they have time.
Mm-hmm.
We get to unpack why they have to talk to their partner. We get to unpack like money's tight, right? And that's actually when sales begins. But for most people, they get an objection and they're like, okay, sounds good. Like I'll follow back up, right? But it's like, no, this is when you actually get to go deeper and ask really important questions to start to unpeel that layer, right?
I was that
Now,
person. As soon
yeah,
as I got an
you
objection, I was like, all right, have a good day, bye,
yeah,
next.
most people do. Like, you guys, this is like no joke. This is why I have a
That
job.
works in corporate though because if you
Yeah.
have so many leads coming in, it's like whatever, on to the next one.
Yeah. I have a saying in sales. It's like, so what? No, it's like, some will, some won't. So what next? And
Mm-hmm.
that's like a great frame of mind when you're in corporate or you're like a phone dialer, right? And you're just like, fuck it. Like I can just go to the next person, right? But for an example, if you are in the online space and maybe you have 5 leads coming in or 2 leads coming in or 10 leads coming in, you can't have that same mentality. You have to be like, okay, what does this person really need? They already told me they need to lose the weight, fix their marriage, have a better sex life, be better in sales, be better with money, right? Whatever it is. And I know that I hold this solution to it. So now it's like I just have to get them to buy in to the fact that they see this as the result in which they need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the one of the most important things I like first learned is all right, is this an objection or a question? And
100%.
and some people get them confused.
Yeah.
What do you see like with your clients in that term in that sense?
Yeah.
Because there's a
I
big
see
difference
that.
between objection and question.
Yeah, I think that you're going to get objections, but it's your job as a salesperson. And you guys are all salespeople, whether you think you are or not, whether you own an agency, a brick and mortar, a money coach, whatever it is, you're all salespeople. So now it's your chance that once they give you an objection, for you to ask better questions. So, for an example, if somebody says, like, hey, now's not the right time, you can say something like, when would the right time be? Or how long have you currently been in this situation? Okay, I totally get the fact that now might not be the right time, but let me ask you, What are you going to do in the meantime to get better in sales, lose the weight,
Mm-hmm.
change your body, be better in money, right? Whatever it is. And then you start to unpack that. So it's our job to actually be better questioners when we start to get the objections.
1000%.
Yeah.
I was, what was it? I had a thought. I was thinking, I was like listening, and it's like oh, what's, what's your, you may not have one, but what do you feel like is the hardest objection to overcome?
Um,
I have one if you want to hear mine first.
yeah, tell me yours and I'll tell you mine.
As soon as I get someone, they'll be like, "What are your fees?" Like very
Oh yeah.
first question. Like I go, "Well," and I'm like, "I don't have a good answer for this." I go,
Yeah.
"Well, I'll be like, if you have a car, and I have to say gas powered car because now people have electric cars. If you have a gas powered car and you go in for an oil change, it's going to be much less expensive than getting 4 new tires. So
Hmm.
depending on how much work you need done depends on what the fee is going to be, and we customize that.
Yep.
That's what I've come up with. Or I just like, sometimes I get creative. I'm like, what's another example? I just like, is like, oh, what's something else that this person may or may not like, but I don't know much about them. So it's kind
Yeah.
of just like taking a shot.
Hmm. I think for me, the two biggest objections that I get that I don't love is very similar to yours. When people reach out and they're like, "Hey, I really want to work with you, but I know I can't afford you." And it's like, we haven't even had a conversation. You have no idea what it's like to work with me, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know if I'm $10 or $100,000. Like, you actually have no idea. You're just assuming you already know. So they've put this thought in their head already that they can't afford me before they've ever even like had this conversation. I actually get this a lot. And I'll tell you, if you get this a lot, you're actually doing something right because that means that people see you as high value. It's people
Mm-hmm.
see you as someone who is like top of the line services, right? So I have a lot of clients that are like, oh, I never get that objection. It's like, okay, well, then maybe your content sucks. Maybe you're not showing up consistently. Maybe you're not giving value, right? But if you can craft what I call is like your $50,000 offer, where people already assume that you're high ticket, then people are going to think that you are, right? That's one that I don't love at all. And one of the things that I say to that, if you happen to get this objection, is I say, hey, I absolutely understand that you think right now I might be out of your budget to work with, or I might be too expensive to work with. And I get that. But let me ask you a question. How much do you think it costs to work with me? And then they'll be like, well, I don't really know. And it's like, okay, so let's just break this down. You don't really know what it's like to work with me, but you already think it's too expensive. So are you open to a conversation about what it actually looks like to work with me now that you have facts on what those numbers are?
Mm-hmm.
And 9 times out of 10, they're going to say yes.
Yeah, a few years ago, I started charging a very nominal fee for a
Hmm.
consult,
Yeah,
and it's when you first start, it's like a mindset shift because you're going to get people who object to the fee, whether the fee is a
100%.
dollar. Even if it's a dollar, some people are like, I
Well,
don't want to pay a dollar.
yep.
And as you progress in your sales career, you got to be able to make that mindset shift because your time becomes more and more valuable. Everyone's time is very valuable, but in the beginning, it's like, I just need to talk to as many people as possible.
Yeah. And I
What?
think too, remembering that like it's going to change, like you're going to evolve, right? I always tell people the story. So I have a group coaching program for sales. This is where I drive everybody into. I give like insane value. It's like the place to be. It's like my sales signature program. Okay. That's where I want everybody to be. But one on one coaching is a large portion of my income, right?
Mm,
When I first started coaching 4 years ago, I was $200 a month to work with. Okay. Now we are high four figures a month to work with. So think about that in just like 4 years, what's changed? But that didn't just happen, right? I didn't just come out of nowhere on online and be like, okay, it's X amount of dollars to work with me. It's like, no, I had to do the work. I had to take a lot of calls. I had to get clients a shit ton of results. I had to show up consistently. I had to build myself as the expert, the authority, the go to person that now, over 4 years, I can sit with that price point. And when someone asks me what it's like to work with me one on one, I'm actually more confident now at a higher price point than I was at $200 a month.
yeah, $200 a month. That's a lot of clients you have to serve
I
to
know. My
make
clients now are like, damn, wish we would have gotten on that deal. I'm like, I know, should have been around a few years ago.
coulda, woulda, shoulda. It's about
Yeah.
taking action
Yeah,
and not
exactly.
delaying. And like
Yep.
right now we're getting to the point where like some people are like, I want to think about it. And I'm just like, well, you know what happens when November hits?
Yep.
Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, boom, we're in 2025. And I'm like, well, how would you feel if it's 2025 and you still haven't done anything?
Yeah.
Will you be sad, happy, don't care?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
getting to
Sometimes
that
it's really
point, and that's
asking those questions, and that's what people need.
yeah, and those are the sort of things like you learn on the fly. It's not like you're lying to someone. You're not like, hey, I'm only accepting 3 people this month. You got to get in right now.
Yeah,
Which is a trick a lot of people
for
do.
sure.
Um,
Manufactured urgency, I call it.
yeah. So I mean, but if it's like, hey, if you are a really good coach and you're like, I can only handle 3 people a month, all I take is 3 people a month, and it's the honest truth, then of course you can say things like that.
Yeah.
But when you start lying and trying to deceive people, people are pretty smart. They pick up on it.
Yeah, they are pretty smart. I always tell the story that I joined a mastermind about 2 years ago, and I followed this girl on Instagram for a few months, and she was like, "Oh, you got to get in. There's only like 3 spots left." Blah blah, right? Like all this manufactured urgency. So I really like bought into the fact that like this was going to be a really powerful room of a lot of really high level entrepreneurs because the way she was selling it, like, "Oh, we're selling out. We only have 3 spots left. Get in, right?" And when I got in, there was only two other women in there besides me, and I was like, okay, so literally you've been like in air quotes lying to all of us that you had this like huge room created. There was this urgency. You had to get in only 3 spots, like all of those like shitty tactics. And it's like now what happens exactly what you said. Your clients know. I knew as soon as I got in that mastermind, I was like, oh, she lied this entire launch. So I don't respect her as a human now. So how can I possibly respect her as a leader or a mentor in my world? I don't.
Were you able to turn that situation around at all?
I was.
How?
The way that I turned it around was that I reminded me that everything I say online needs to be in integrity. So if I
Mm-hmm.
say I have 1 spot left, 2 spots left, the price is going up, whatever it is, I hold myself to that entirely. So much to the fact, I'm gonna tell you a real story. Last month, we actually had a promo inside of our sales program. Our program is $6,000 to join, okay, for 6 months, and you get a live event. It's incredible. And we had a promo last month where we did $300 off. Well, my team sent out an email and they actually did something. I don't know what they did. I don't handle ops, but they actually did $3,300 off. And the sale was for 72 hours. And I sat with that and I was like, you know what? I'm a person of my word. I'm not going to go back and say, like, hey, you can't get it now. Like, my team messed up. Like, this was something that we did. And I was really grateful because we sold 11 people in, like, 11 new humans came in. But that was integrity. It was like, okay, she put it out. This is what the price is. And now I'm going to actually honor it. And I did. I honored it for 11 people. And it sucked a little bit, but we did it.
Maybe you did better because of that.
I think so too.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
But what happened happened, and when you're in the middle of the sale, you don't want to just hang
Yep.
up the phone. You got to fight through it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Where are you working with most people? All over?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. People are always like, "Oh, do you like niche down?" I'm like, I literally don't niche down at all. Like right now, I have a handful of one-on-one clients, and some of them are brick and mortar. Some of them have like a actual building. Some of them are online. Some of them are coaches. Some of them are product-based businesses. Some of them are realtors. Like it really doesn't matter to me what it is that they do because if you have a business online or offline, I can guarantee, and I actually say this, I guarantee I can increase your sales. May not happen tomorrow, may not happen next week, but we will absolutely get your sales moving and going. Even if after we work together, it doesn't happen for 3 or 4 months, I usually can always guarantee I can increase somebody's sales in their business.
Being a sales professional, how do you like meet with let's just say that someone has a company. How do you identify if they have like a sales problem versus a marketing problem?
Yeah. I just ask questions. I say, like, hey, what's your business currently doing in revenue? I might say, like, what type of profit margin are you running? I might say, what kind of ops team do you have? I might say, like, if they're online, like, how'd your last launch go? Right? Because sales and marketing go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like you have to be able to market your stuff in order to sell it. So, regardless if it's a sales problem or a marketing problem, I can come in and for the most part, I can handle both. What I don't do is like ads. And I don't do, I'm not going to write your sales copy for you. But I can tell really quick, like, let's say you're listening to this podcast right now and you slide into my DMs and you're an online coach. I can tell like that if it's a marketing problem or a sales problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what does your content look like? What is your content saying? What does your messaging look like? What does your marketing look like? Like, I can tell pretty quick where the problem is. For a bigger organization, they usually go hand in hand and they work out a plan to get them both in place together.
Yeah, they definitely go hand in hand because
Yeah,
if the marketing is right and then the sales is wrong, you're just gonna have pissed off customers.
100%.
Like what happened to you in that room.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
marketing was spot
absolutely.
on. It got you. It closed the deal. Never again though.
Never again.
How do you think that person's doing now?
Probably not so great.
Yeah. It's crazy how people want to take the shortcuts to be successful.
Yep,
It's kind of like the people in high school that cheated.
100%.
And then you
It's
look
like it's
back
only
and
going
you're
to get
like,
you so
how's that
far.
person doing now? And you're like, oh, oh.
Yeah, it's like you're only going to get you so far.
It's hard though, because it's a lot of grinding. Like in the beginning, you were doing all of your own marketing and everything.
Hmm. Yeah, and we actually run a really lean team. So in our business, I mean, we're generating close to seven figures every year. In my business, it's just me and an executive assistant, and I have a sales closer. That's it. I do all my own social. I do all my own content. I write all my own emails. Um, we onboard all of our own clients. Like we actually run a really lean team. So this is what I say. You can make $1 million and you can take nothing to the bank. You know this. You're in the money space, right? Or you can make $500,000 and take a shitload of money to the bank. So I really don't care what you're saying you make online or what your business is. What I really care about is like what you're taking to the bank. So
Mm-hmm.
even when I come in and work with whether it's companies or coaches or anything, one of the first things I'm going to do is say like, okay, yes, I know you want more sales, but I also want you to make more profit. So where can we maybe cut cost? Where can we change your team members out? Where can we do something different? Like that's one of the biggest things that I work with because I have people that are making way less, but taking way more to the bank. And I have clients that are making multiple $1 million and have a hard time making payroll. So the top number really doesn't matter.
I used to tell people this, and they would always look at me like I'm nuts. I'd be like, hey, you know what the key to making money is? Not making money. And they
No,
look at me like, what are you talking about? Like, I'd meet these people and like they're successful for a while, like they can make a good amount of money, but then they don't know what to do with the money, or they don't plan accordingly for their taxes, or they just make stupid purchases. They don't have a sales system or a
yep.
business system to follow. And that's the problem is a lot of people look at this company like, oh, they made $1 billion last year, and then but they're not profitable. They're not keeping any of it.
No, no, I have a really good friend of mine. I'm in a mastermind with her, and she just had a $500,000 launch in August, and we were all like, "Oh my God, that's amazing! Like you had like a $500,000 launch," and she was like, "I took nothing to the bank. By
Hmm.
the time I paid my ads team, I paid my closers, I paid my team, like all these people. She's like literally like pennies to the bank."
Hmm.
And it's like, then I can look at somebody who has a $50,000 launch and is running a really lean team and they take 40K to the bank. Well, let me ask you, which business do you want?
I guess it depends what your strategy is. It's like, am I running this to make money, or I'm running this to get more eyeballs on me? If
Mm-hmm.
you're looking to get eyeballs and you break even, you're like, that's a win. I got this many eyeballs on me. If
Yep.
you're looking to make a profit, then you know, then just having eyeballs isn't what you're looking for. And that's what
Yeah.
like a lot of people I feel like marketing, like if you're breaking even on marketing, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Like most companies run it at a deficit, but
Yeah.
eventually they have the brand recognition. And I don't care how good of a entrepreneur you are, you're probably not going to build a brand like Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, it's just not going
Exactly.
to happen. They've been
We
around
uh we
since
just
the
we just hired an
1800s.
ads team in our business. We've ran organically for 3.5 years, and we just brought on an ads team, and it's a huge spend per month. And there's a lot of mindset that goes along with it because now, like I said, I run a really lean team and a really profitable business. And now it's like, okay, what's the strategy now? You're not going to have the same profits, but you're going to have way more eyeballs on you. So I actually love that we're having this conversation because I'm actually going through this in like real time, and it makes a huge difference how you set your mindset up as you're going through some of those things.
How did you make the decision to do it?
Yeah. So for me, we ran organically for 3.5 years and we built a phenomenal business. Like we're running close to a seven-figure business every year and high profit margins. And we don't have a lack of leads coming in, but I want to turn the fire on and I want to build a bigger business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's only so many things that I can do like with my time, right? So if you send me a message right now on Instagram, like it's literally me talking to you. I'm going to be the one voice noting you back, right? Like I do all my own content, like all these things. So what we knew was that I could only do this for so long organically, and then we had to bring in some systems and some automations. And it's interesting because I've preached for 3.5 years, like you can make millions of dollars without ads. And I actually have a freebie. It's called How to Generate Leads Without Spending a Dollar on Paid Ads. And I had to really sit with the fact of like, is my community going to think I'm a sellout now? Because now it's like I'm putting ads out and I've been
Well,
the person who's
well,
been
no,
like
because in the
anti
beginning
ads.
you don't have any money to pay someone.
Exactly. Yeah,
There's
exactly.
levels to
And
the game.
now, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there's definitely levels to the game. I mean, in the beginning, it's like unless you're getting funded or
Yep.
have money saved up or have a trust, it's like you don't have the
Yeah.
money to spend.
No. And it's like, I said this to my community. It's like now I'm going to do ads and I'm going to be able to teach you guys about it. We're going to learn different strategies. So I get to go first. I get to learn it and then I get to bring it back to my Infinity community, which is my sales, signature sales program.
That's cool. And when you're running everything organically,
Mhm.
you're like learning how to talk to the camera. You're learning about how the platforms work so that when you do hire an ad agency, you know at least a majority of the questions that you need to ask in order to qualify someone. Versus if you know nothing, you could meet someone and they can tell you, it's the sun is shining outside and it's
Mhm.
snowing. And you would
Yeah.
believe them because they have good marketing.
Exactly. And the other thing too, it's like so many people ask me, like, oh, should I run ads to that? Should I put ad dollars on that? It's like for me personally, I would not throw ad dollars on anything until you have massive proof of concept, right? So we have a sales program. I have 42 people in it. That is proof of concept. It's proof of concept that I put the offer out, people buy, people get results. But I would never have thrown ad dollars to that before I ever had a client. I would have never thrown ads to it even when I had 5 people in it. It's like I want to get the machine up and running and know that it absolutely works. And then we pour fire on it, not before you never know it works. People ask me all the time, like, oh, I have this master class. Should I like run paid ads to it? It's like, no, because you don't even know if you're going to, how you're going to be on the master class. If you're going to get scared, right? Like you have to do things over and over and over and have proof of concept and then pour fire on it.
Yeah, that's like the problem with the wealth management space is you can't really advertise how you do. It's like
Yeah.
against the rules. So
Yeah.
I'm always thinking, how do I get creative? I'm still thinking how to get creative because I would say marketing is our biggest Achilles
Yeah.
heel at this point in time. It's just how do you be that person that people want to work with that's different than all the other big faceless organizations out there?
Yeah. So I actually have a couple financial people in my Infinity program, financial planners, financial advisors, like they're in the program. And we also have to create different marketing strategies for them because they can't just be on social, like talking about things. And there's like, the laws and the ordinances and like all those things. So you definitely have to do it differently. So what I tell a lot of my clients who are in like your financial space, it's like, it's really networking, it's really referrals, and then it's going one to many. So let's say you are someone who does financial planning. It's like I would look for somebody either in the online space or the offline space that helps people make money.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they make money, it's like you're the next go to person, right? So I'm going to use this example of somebody in my Infinity world. She actually didn't need help in sales. This is like just a great example, you guys. She did not need help in sales. She was already running like a great financial company, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what she saw was that Jillian Murphy has the sales program with 42 high level entrepreneurs in there that are making money. So it made sense for her to invest in it because her ideal clients are in that room. So now every week on the calls, people are getting to know her, they're getting to know what she does. So she's literally using my network to build her business. So I would encourage you, it's like look at where your ideal clients are and asking yourself if you're getting in the right rooms for that.
Yeah. I mean, I love the golf, so I go to golf tournaments, charity golf
Absolutely.
tournaments.
Yeah.
Just go to the golf course by myself and get paired up with three strangers. But
Yep.
yeah, I totally agree. You definitely got to get in a room and shake hands. The internet can only take you so far.
You totally can. Like it literally is the exact same way. I love that you said that about the golf course because I have so many clients that think they have to build their business online and you literally don't. Go shake hands with people, go to events, go meet people, get referral partners, build JV partnerships, like all of those types of things. And your business will absolutely skyrocket.
Totally. Oh, do you have any other events come up that people could be aware of?
No, so right now what we do is we do one-on-one coaching for people who it's the right fit for. But I say this on every single podcast that I go into. I truly believe this in my soul that every single entrepreneur, regardless of where you're at in your business, whether you're making $1 or you're making $100,000 or $1 million, our Infinity program, everybody should be in it. Because one, the community is insane. You're going to get such close proximity to me. You're going to scale your sales and you're going to learn marketing like you've never learned it before. So it's something that I talk about. I talk about Slim Blue in the face. And I think like literally every single business owner should be inside this program.
All right. Well, Jillian, it was fun. We'll see everyone next time. Bye, everyone.